Ready? Security.
Thank you.
He was up all night rehearsing that.
I think one of the most important and fastest growing areas for Vicom's business is around professional services, specifically around analyzing services and looking at security. Over the years, we have seen intrusion in customers' environments where they've lost data, where it's cost customers billions of dollars. For example, in 2011, it was stated that $42 billion was lost in security from breaches. One of the ways Vicom takes to prepare you for this is looking not only at how to prevent these attacks, but also what happens after these attacks have happened. Manoj Kabe and his team have been involved with different aspects of security in trying to get you from point A to point B. How to recognize an attack, how to address an attack, and how to prevent an attack. These are just some of the interesting challenges that organizations have faced with it when you're talking about security. So if you look at these 4 areas, whether it's competing, when you're looking at inadequate tools, you're looking at business pressures, and the rise of targeted attacks. These are the 4 areas that have been identified. And as you can see statistically, right, there seems to be an increase in all these different areas. 61% of organizations say that the data theft and cybercrime are the greatest threats to their reputation. Perfect example is Sony, right? You had Sony who had an attack in their environment and prevented them from releasing a movie because they were being held hostage. You've heard hospitals that are dealing with ransomware where they can't budge with what they need to do. Vicom has decided to focus on this area because it is one of the fastest growing areas, one of the most problematic areas for organizations. 75% plus of organizations are using at least one cloud platform. So that's great, we're moving everything to the cloud. How is it that you secure this information that's going out there? Whether you're a hospital, whether you're a bank, right? Whether you're someone like Sony, who I use it as another example, how do you secure this information? How do you analyze it? Because shifting it out to the cloud doesn't necessarily make it secure. That's another area that we can look at and help you out. When you speak to CISOs within an environment, 70% of those CISOs are concerned about cloud and mobile security. We are accessing more and more data from our mobile devices. What's the security when you have a bring your own device to the environment? How do you know that it's locked down? How do you know that the individual user isn't responsible for pulling this data out? That's where a majority of the threats are coming from, not necessarily from the outside, but within your organization as it stands. If you look at the rise of the targeted attacks, broad attacks, right, within an environment, targeted attacks, advanced, persistent, organized, and politically or financially motivated. This is a huge part. You have hospitals who are being held on ransomware, where patient data is being held. You have banks who have customer credit card information. An example is Home Depot, where they have that information that's being taken and sold. So we're all susceptible to these type of attacks. And what happens within these organizations, there are a multitude of tools, some preventative, some to act, and some to, to rectify what's been done. What Vicom does is we look at all 3 steps. We bring tools to bring all 3 steps to fruition. Whether it's utilizing Squirrel to look at threat hunting, whether it's looking at other tools to prevent what it is that you have within your environment. What we've done in different organizations is take an analysis of all the tools that they had in order to come to a consensus on the best way to prevent these security attacks within their environment. So how do we address the challenges? Let me continue to talk about that. Stop advanced threats. Use our analytics and insight for a smarter and more integrated defense. This is where one of our partners from Squirrel comes in, where we do threat hunting, where we're able to look at the data and the information that you have and use machine learning to be able to predict behavior within an environment and help you understand where there potentially could be attack or where there has been an attack that's dormant within your environment. Protect critical assets. Use context-aware controls to prevent the unauthorized access and data loss. That we utilize Varonis for, where we've had situations with customers where they've had to halt meetings and pause meetings because people have gotten access to files that they shouldn't have. When you have tons of unstructured data, you're not able to control your environment and realize where the permissions sit within the organization. Safeguard cloud and mobile. I talked about this before. More and more today, you are getting different endpoints. We have the ability to use some of our tools to create endpoint management and help you understand the security within all these mobile devices. Optimize your security program, integrate your security silos. As discussed, You've got your networking environment, you've got your storage environment, you've got all these desktop environments who have their own security tools. How do we bring that together to have a manager of managers, to have a single point of view where the CISO can feel comfortable that not only are they in a preventative mode, but should an attack happen, they're able to resolve it in an adequate time. If you look at the security challenge, security intelligence and operating consulting, so this is how we build the practice. This is how the practice is built, and this is how we go to market with our implementation. First, the strategy and the planning. Come in, discuss the assessment, interview people, get an understanding of your environment. From there, we then go and design and build the solution that fits your environment, because not every environment is created the same, so not every solution will fit, whether it's a large environment or a small environment. The implementation of our post-sales team that does the implementation after all of the design has been set, and then how do we manage and scale? Do we take it to a managed services where we then help you control it, either through using residential services where we put an expert on the site for 3, 6, 9 months, or you give it to us to manage, train your team, and then eventually pass it up. This is a standard practice that we utilize for all our consulting engagements, so it's been proven over several years. And finally, just talk about the security implementation framework. We talk about the security intelligence. These are the different areas that you potentially could run into issues. I talked about threat hunting. I talked about data. I talked about identity and access management. I talked about the endpoints. All those tied together help us create the framework for security intelligence. As stated before, Vicom has been doing this for several years. We have many customers that we've done this for where we provide the residential services, or we train your team, or we take it on from a managed services perspective. We hope you give us an opportunity to talk to you about this and further educate you on our skills. Thank you.